Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon to wherever you are tuning in from. Welcome, hello, my name's Alexis, and I'm going to be hosting this month's Jira Service Management Fundamentals webinar. We are thrilled to have you here for this basic overview of Jira Service Management. Today, I'll guide you through JSM's most powerful features. I'm going to highlight how it can transform your service management workflows and enhance your efficiency for your teams. So before diving in, just a little bit about Valiantys in case you are new, haven't heard of us, or just need a little bit refresher. So we are a platinum solutions partner of Atlassian. We do things such as providing consulting, licensing, integration, and even training services, as you see in the one that you're currently in, for all organizations of all sizes and shapes worldwide. So whether you're working on cloud or data center, which is going away soon, our platform is built on a numerous amount of expertise, such as 100% dedication to the Atlassian ecosystem. We are a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year award winner. We do have collaborations with over 65 Fortune 500 companies. We are recognized as being Atlassian's first global partner. And we do offer 24/7 global coverage with a team of over 600 plus experts. So at Valiantys, what can we do for you? So I kind of did mention some of the bullet points we can do above, but just to kind of go a little bit more in depth. So we do have consulting. So we do that to help you optimize tools, processes, work with you to enhance your systems, or even deliver a new system to you. We do licensing, so that helps ensure compliancy as well as some cost efficiency. We do custom integration and development, so whether you need a custom solution or using a very thorough integration that requires some development work, we do offer services for that. We do have managed services, so those are for ongoing support. So even after you hit a go live or tasks are done, there is room for more continuous improvement and continuous work. And then, like I said, like you are in right here, we do have training to empower your teams. These do consist of not only this webinar that you see here, which is free, but we also have boot camps. One of the ones that's more specific to the topic we're talking about is the Jira Service Management Bootcamp. So this is going to give you not only an interactive way to learn, but it's going to be a lot more in depth than what we're going to cover here. This is more for the webinar, just of a high level. The JSM BC is going to give you a very thorough cover. It is a 2-day workshop, and it's going to give you everything that you need to know to get your team up and running with JSM. So that course is designed for service desk managers, administrators, or even if you're brand new to JSM, it's the perfect course for you. We do offer other boot camps as well for Atlassian products. So we do have Jira Bootcamp, which is a 3-day boot camp. We do have Atlassian Analytics, which is, I believe, a 1-day boot camp, and many more. So you'll see the link in the chat. You can go to valiantys.com/training to see all of the available listings we have, both for boot camps and for other trainings. And just as a reminder, our next JSMBC is July 8th, so don't miss it. You can also scan the QR code on the screen here if you wanted to also take you directly to the website to take a look at those training offerings. So now that I kind of gave the big ol' spiel, let's now get into what you guys came for today. So let's go over our agenda for this webinar. So first, we're just going to do an introduction, and that's just going to be briefly going over what is JSM, what does it do. So just a very small little housekeeping for that. And then we're going to get into the demo. So I'll go over and walk through not only the portal side, but I'll go through the agent side as well. And if we have time, I can go over just a tad bit more on some of the features. If not, we'll just cover at a high level. And then at the very end, we'll have questions. At any given point, if we don't have any time left to cover questions, definitely make sure to put them in the chat, and I can reach out and the team will afterwards to ensure that your question does get answered. So with that, let's just do our little dive in. So if you are new to JSM or just need a refresher, what is JSM? So I keep abbreviating it, but JSM stands for Jira Service Management. Initially, JSM was designed for IT service management. And since then, it has really evolved into a very robust platform that does serve any service team. So your HR, your marketing, your help desk, your information security, so much more, even marketing. So recently, Jira Service Management has moved under what's called the service collection of apps. So there has been a little bit of a restructure to that. So this service collection of apps does contain Jira Service Management, Customer Service Management, Assets, and Rovo. You don't have to use all of those together. However, those are products that you can use together. Listed in here isn't Confluence. However, Confluence is a great additional product as an add-on to host a document repository, which I will mention in a little bit. But that product, while not in that collection of apps, it is something that you can add and utilize. Customer service management is different than Jira Service Management, so keep in mind when we're talking through this webinar, we're only focusing on Jira Service Management. So some of the key benefits that JSM gives you that is different than, let's say, Jira. So with JSM, you have a customer-facing help center and project portals. So this is going to be where you can go see those projects. You can click on them and your customers are going to be able to interact and submit tickets to your project. We do have SLAs or service level agreements, and these are going to measure time metrics for tickets such as time to first response, time to resolution, which are the ones that are going to be out of the box. If you're looking to be able to track those types of metrics to be able to enhance your processes, those are there. I did just mention a minute ago about Confluence. So if you have Confluence as a product, you can link it to have a knowledge base integration. So this can allow you to self-serve your customers by having an article directly on the portal to walk through step by step. But you can also have it to use for an internal repository for your agents to be able to reference as guides and being able to also on the after submission send to your customers to be able to self-service and eliminate some back and forth interaction. When it comes to JSM, there is a core of ITIL-based workflows that is surrounded by out of the box. So for those, you're going to have request management, incident management, problem management, and change management. You don't have to use all four of them if you don't want to, but those are the ITIL-based workflows that are there. You do have the ability to also create your own and customize what's out of the box, but that is just what it is by default that gives you. You do have approvals. This is a physical auditable approval step that allows you to track not only single but also multi-level approvals. So giving someone a approve or deny button, and no matter how many times you send it through approval, you're going to be able to have a physical audit log in that ticket. You do have queues, which this is going to be customizable lists that allow you to see all of your tickets that are in the project based off a specific defined query. This is where your agents are going to triage and basically live, eat, sleep, and breathe out of. This is how they're going to see what tickets are in, what are the highest priorities, click in, go in, and then they're going to be able to work on them. Most of the queues in a project are only going to display tickets for that project. However, there are features now that do allow for multi-project queue viewing, but that's not going to be on every single queue. We do have an email ticket creation, so by default, every JSM project that gets created does have an email request and an email that does get created that specifically links just to that project, so that way tickets can be created from an inbound email. And then there are things that are a little bit more newer and still being tweaked that are the virtual agent. So it is powered by Atlassian's AI chatbot that allow you to make a workflow and you can train it to do X, Y, Z and help also your customer self-service. And if they can't solve what it is needed, then it can create the ticket and everything that was mentioned gets put into that ticket. That way the agent who picks it up can pick right off where the next step. And then also the virtual agent. So the virtual agent is available in Microsoft Teams and Slack. There's also conversational ticketing that is also available in Slack and Microsoft Teams that uses the same application, which is called the Atlassian Assist app. That is what allows the syncing between JSM and that Slack or Microsoft Teams to be able to also send messages back and forth directly through that app without having to go to the portal version. And then just like with Jira, there is also built-in automation, which is called Automation for Jira, to help you streamline and automate repetitive tasks. And I did mention before that JSM also, while seamlessly integrates with Confluence, it can also integrate with Jira software. And you're going to notice that if you're familiar with Jira, you're going to see it is very, very similar to JSM, especially with some of the backend configurations, but there are minor differences between the two. So just keep in mind that if you are new to JSM, but not to some of the Atlassian area, it won't be as much of a learning curve. And if you're brand new, then don't worry. This is going to be a very great overview and start for your journey. So this webinar, while it is a basic overview, we do have more that we go over. So there is an advanced Jira Service Management webinar that if you check out the link for the training opportunities, you're going to be able to see that there, as well as there are also other ones such as for like DevOps, incident management, all that stuff gets covered within that next webinar. So feel free to check that out and use that opportunity to join and continue your learning or just refresh your learning as well. All right. So now what you guys have been waiting for, let's officially dive in to the demo. And we're going to start with the customer experience, which is going to be with the portal. So coming to the portal, I'm just going to navigate here. And before I actually dig in, I jumped a little bit ahead. If any questions you guys have during while I'm going through, go ahead and put them in the QA section. And then as we get to the end, I can go ahead and I'll go through your questions, answer them. And I believe I said earlier, if we don't get through all of them, it is okay. We'll take them back and the team and myself will go through and answer and we'll make sure that we get back that answer to you. So we are now at the Help Center. The Help Center, like I said, this is where your customers, your non-agents, so these are going to be the people who aren't working on the tickets, they're going to be able to come to, navigate, and submit tickets to those projects. So they can submit tickets through here, they can view the status of tickets they have themselves or have been shared with for those tickets. They can access knowledge base articles for self-help, that's through Confluence, and they can also interact with their own tickets. So for that knowledge-based linking, we see the search bar right here. So by typing in a keyword or phrase, we're going to be able to get brought up with information. So not only are we going to be able to click on, for example, more request types that might match the same name, so we don't have to go through and click on different portals to find the request type, we could search it. You also, if the virtual agent is set up, you'll be able to interact with that project's virtual agent. But up top right here for resources, this is where our knowledge base articles are. So if I click on one of these, I'm going to be brought to kind of like a Confluence version-ish of a article, and I'm going to be able to go through as a customer, and I can go through these troubleshooting steps, starting with if I'm having VPN issues, just making sure that a cat is not on your keyboard. But you have the ability to go through and follow all of these, as well as anything additional that is formatted into the article. And then you do have the ability to upvote or downvote if it did help you. If the article didn't, you can easily click need to raise a request, contact us, and that brings you to that project's portal to be able to navigate the proper request type you need, and then submit that. You also have the ability to customize this layout that you see up here. So it's not showing on here right now, but for example, customization includes this announcement banner. So you're going to be able to have an announcement that a Jira administrator can add to allow for something to appear on the Help Center entirely. And then each portal can have its own announcement right here. So that way, if there's something more specific, let's say for the help desk, you list the hours that the service desk is open for, you can throw that right there. Otherwise, this could be more global for, let's say, company holiday X through Z to list that type of items. You also have the ability through here, just like how you see these little cards for the portals, when you modify and customize, you can also add little sections. So you could add links such as the link to your company intranet. You can add a link to the holiday calendar, or you can add any of the links to, let's say, like HR systems, payroll systems that people might commonly navigate or ask how to navigate to. You can throw those right here and kind of make it a one-stop shop to where, while it might not be your intranet, you can make it just about as close as possible to navigate to everything that you need. So going in, let's go and take a look. So by clicking on one of these the little squares, that's going to be called a projects portal. Clicking on it, we're going to be brought into everything that that project has to offer. Right now, we have something in here. It's configured called categories that we can also host some articles on. So that's why we don't see everything right away, but if we click this button right here, now we're going to see all of the request options available. And we can submit requests like this, so this is through the portal, but there's also other ways that customers can submit requests. So there is that email channel, so customers can email that project's, they can send an email to that project's email address, and then it will create a ticket in that project. There is the use of chat widgets. So a chat widget is something you're more commonly going to see on like Best Buy, where you go to the website, it pops up and it says, hey, how can I help? And it's trying to sell you a computer. So you have a chat widget like that that can be placed on other websites. Note the only thing is when it comes to that one is that it means that your portal right here has to open up entirely to the internet rather than locked down. So for an example of Best Buy, that's probably not a problem. They want everyone to be able to come in and submit ticket. But let's say if you're a company like Valiantys, where this is our internal help desk, we don't want that to be visible. Therefore, we wouldn't want to use that chat widget. The help center, like as you see right here, spinning through that. And then I mentioned that conversational ticketing and that virtual agent. You're going to be able to use Microsoft Teams and Slack to be able to connect to your projects that you directly specify, and you can submit ticket through there. So those are all the methods to submit, but now let's actually look at physically submitting. So what I'm going to do here is, for examples, I'm going to submit 2 tickets. I'm going to do one that doesn't require approval, and then I'm going to do one that does. So that way, when we hop into the agent view of it, we're going to be able to kind of see that approval feature that JSM does uniquely have. So to start with one that doesn't require approval, we're going to do a get IT help. But when you see in your project and you come in, so these are what's going to be called portal groups. All portal groups are, which you also see the name right here, as an agent. I see that button because I have the ability to customize it. But portal groups are just simply grouping your requests together. A request can live in more than one group as well. So you're going to see in some of these, I believe I saw like applications and servers and infrastructure. Request a change is in both. They can live in all of them if they want. You can have multiple portal groups and you can have a lot of request types. Just as a heads up, because I have personally seen this working with clients, that every request that you put in a portal group, it will be listed in there. So if you add, let's say, 25 request types to a portal group, you will see all 25 names. So it can look a little ugly and long. Our recommendation is to keep it about 7 to 10 requests per group, or if you need to separate out, you can do that. If you don't have any groups, and let's say you just have like 8 request types for a project, if you throw them in just the same group and you don't have any additional, you won't even see these groups. It'll just throw you that directly. So you would just see all of those. But coming in to submit a non-approval ticket, let's submit a get IT help. And to just take a pause and step back for what these forms look like, anything that you see a red asterisk on means it's a required field. So if I go to try and send this ticket in and I don't have a value, it's going to tell me, please provide a value. This field right here, you see this raise request on behalf of. This is an agent-only feature that allows agents to be able to submit the ticket and have it show as that user. Standard customers do not have this. However, there is workaround with using assets to be able to customize and make this for non-licensed agents to be able to use. when it comes to request, every request must have a summary, whether you let your customers fill it out or you fill it out defaultly on the back end. But let's start out and let's say Zoom will not update. And description's optional, but we're just gonna put in we're gonna say that let's say Zoom has an update, but it won't update, and when it goes to update, it fails. I don't have a screenshot and it's not required, so I'm not gonna put it on there. So I'll go ahead and hit send, and now, boom, I have my request sent. And the fields that you saw on that screen that I filled out, you can customize them. There's multiple different fields and ways you can customize. We'll see a little bit later that there's 2 ways to throw fields on your request that you saw we fill out, so I won't get into that just a second, but just know that there are 2 ways to utilize that. So now my ticket's submitted. I can see that I raised this request on, I can see the time, I can see the information that I did submit, so I put in the description. I have a ticket number. If I look right up here, ITSD-1347. If I click on that or I click on view work item, I'm going to get taken to the agent view, but I'll hold off on that since we're still going through the UI. I can see the status. On your workflow, if it is configured, it does allow you to perform your own actions. So in this case, this workflow allows the customer to be able to cancel, resolve, or escalate their own request, as well as even turn the notifications on and off for that specific ticket. I can see the request type, and if I want to share this ticket with someone, I have the ability to type in their name, add them, and now they can see this ticket. And then this activity section right here, this is going to update anytime the ticket transitions. It'll list on here, but also if you add a comment or the agent adds a comment. So let's say I add a comment, I hit save. Now that's going to show in here. And again, any comments the agent sends, they'll show. Anytime it transitions, it'll show in here. So let's go ahead and let's submit one that does require approval. So let's do a new laptop. So for this one, I'm going to show you how, like an example of how automation for Jira runs. So I'm actually going to raise this request on behalf of Rachel. And the reason for requesting a new laptop, let's say that the equipment is damaged. And while it's not required, let's put in very unfortunate situation, but let's say the laptop got dropped from the stairwell. Will not turn on. And then the last required field we have right here is which model would you like. So I'm going to select that Rachel needs a new ThinkPad. After all of that is filled out, I'll click send. And now there is an automation that is running behind the scenes that is going to go take a look at Rachel. And we have in assets a people schema created. So there is listed for department, people, information, but also what is listed as manager. So I'm going to refresh this page and I am Rachel's manager. So it has set me to approve. And now I'm going to be able to provide my approval on whether or not I say, yes, please order Rachel a new laptop, or no, do not order a new laptop. And before I go and click these, you can view your requests on the portal by clicking on your profile up here. And then there's 2 options. So your approvals, this is going to be anything specific for approval steps. So right now I can see ones that are waiting my approval, or if I click on approvals history, I'll be able to see tickets that I have ever given approval on. Note that unless the ticket has been shared with you after you approve it, you will no longer have access to it, but you'll be able to see it. So if you did have access to it still, then you would be able to click on it and see it. If not, you'll click on it and you won't be left with anything. And for this, you'll be able to filter and look for any specific request type. Same within waiting for approval, you'll be able to look by any request type that is within those those projects. Give me 1 second. All right. And then the second way that you can do it is with the requests. So this one is going to exclude any approvals unless the ticket's been shared with you. So you're going to be able to see any open requests, closed, and then if you have a very specific status in that you're looking for tickets in a specific project, you're going to be able to go by status. So you can be as descriptive as you want to find that, or if you know what the summary is, you just start typing, you'll be able to go through and find that. You'll be able to see the project it's in, the requester, which most of the time, if you're in these ones, it's going to say you. But if it was a ticket that you were shared with, where if I, for example, look at it, I don't have any right now that I was shared with, but if I was shared with it and let's say that Rachel raised it, I would see Rachel's name right here. I'll be able to see the created date and then the ticket number. So by clicking on these, I'll be able to go and see that ticket. You do have the ability to customize those columns, but your customization is very limited. So the fields you see here, these are the ones that you can customize and show in your own view. And what you customize here is for you only. So whatever you put here won't be for another person. You can remove any of these, you can reorder, but you're not going to be able to add any more at this time. This is all that is supported on the portal. So with that, that kind of covers what the customer view, how to submit tickets, what it looks like. So we have those tickets submitted. We're going to pivot over to the agent side, and we're going to take a look at those tickets as well as an agent, what you're going to see, look, do, all that good stuff. So I already have it pulled up, but a fun little trick is that if you're trying to get to the agent desk, like the agent side from a ticket, you can either click view work item. If you don't have that, if you have agent access, if you just click on the hyperlink that you see in what's called the breadcrumb trail, you're actually going to be taken to the agent view of that ticket. If you're not a licensed agent, it's just going to make a copy of that exact same page. So working on tickets. So as an agent, you're going to be able to view the ticket details like we're seeing right here. You're going to be able to see any forms, attachments, or comments. So we saw that I did leave a comment on this ticket. So we can see here that that comment is visible. I'm going to be able to access still those Confluence articles by clicking and searching. So if I do that, I'm going to be able to click and I can easily just hit share in the comments, save, and now I've sent over to the customer an article that they can check out and follow the steps to complete. So now, to go just a little bit into what we're seeing on the screen. So we're going to be able to see up top here that request number 1347. If we want to copy the link, we can click on that little paperclip right there. And then we have our status to the right. So as an agent, you're going to be able to transition tickets. So right now I'm waiting for support. I have the ability to transition it to the following statuses. And at any given point, if you're trying to figure out why maybe you can't transition to a certain status, clicking on view workflow allows you to see the entire workflow. So we can see here I'm waiting for support. These are all the statuses I can go into. So if I was in closed, I wouldn't be able to see anything because there's nothing that goes out of closed. So I see in progress when I'm in waiting for support because I have the ability to directly transition to it. So if you're ever curious on where your ticket is and where it can go, you'll also see that it's highlighted in dark black of the areas that it can go. These gray ones are the ones that it doesn't have a direct status to go to. If you have SLAs configured, you're going to see them in this little screen right here, and I'll get into SLAs in a little bit, so I'm kind of just going to skip over, but I'm going to let you know that they're right there. You have your details pane, so very commonly you're going to see the assignee, reporter, request type, priority, and your request participants. Those are usually the standard fields that you're going to see in that details pane, but you're going to be able to drag up and put more fields there. So any of them that might relate to your specific process on that request, you're going to be able to put them here. And what you put on this one will not be the same ones that are on another request type, so you do have the ability per each request type to customize those a little bit differently. So if I wanted to, let's say, assign it to me, I can click on this and hit assign to me. Most fields, if you hover over them, you may not see a pencil icon, but you're going to be able to modify it. So if I click on, let's say, reporter, I can see and hover, I can change this field. Most fields you can change. It might not be obvious, but if you click on it, you'll find out whether or not it lets you change it or not. You also have the ability to pin fields. Most fields you're going to be able to pin. So by hovering over a field, we'll see that little thumbtack. By clicking it, it's going to pin that field. It'll go below SLAs, and it's literally going to be called your pin fields. These pins are going to apply to all tickets in the project that you are currently viewing, and this only applies to you. It does not apply to anyone else on your project, just you. But again, this will be sticky in the sense where any tickets you view in this project, those pin fields will stay. So that way, if you always have fields that you know will always pertain to you and you don't care to see all this down here, you could always collapse that, just show your pin fields, and then you can just work through your ticket. This more fields section, if we click down here, these are going to be, as it says, more fields. However, in this section, fields that do not have a value, they're going to be put down here. So let's say you have fields that while on direct submission may not have a value. Later through the automation, let's say automation for Jira, or maybe the agent has to fill out. After they fill that out, it's going to then get thrown up to that middle section. So let's say I put in for, let's say for urgency, I put low. So I fill that out. And if I give it a refresh, we're going to see that urgency has been thrown up in that section. So once it has a value and you refresh, it's going to get thrown up here. This is really good, again, for hiding some fields that you may not use or you may not do right away. So you want to keep them handy, but you don't want them in the way. So you can just kind of collapse that field right there. So coming down a little bit more in this middle section right here, so we do have the ability to create subtasks directly on a ticket. We can link to other tickets. If you have a Confluence article or a page that you want to link, maybe it's related, this goes outside of it sharing with the customer on the portal view. This would just only be an internal document that shows. You can do that. You can link. If you have an external website that you want to link to, maybe it is a different website for, let's say there's an outage on a certain website and you're reporting an incident, you're going to be able to automatically just click on add web link, paste it, and that way in your ticket details, you also have access to something very quickly. JSM forms, you do have the ability to create what's called dynamic forms. So you're going to be able to add a form that you have made. I'll cover forms a little bit later, but just know that after submission, you can still attach a form. So you can click on it, and then you'll be able to add it. You can open it up to your customer to be able to fill out. So by default, it makes it internal. But if I go ahead and hit make form external, now this is visible to the portal, and this is open for edits, meaning that the customer on the portal can fill it out, hit submit, and then it'll save, and that information will be there for them. This tempo you see right here, this is actually an add-on, so this is not something you would normally see. So I can just kind of click hide and minimize that. But some of the add-ons that are in the Atlassian marketplace, they will add more of a view to your center, or even in the section down here that there's another add-on called Big Picture. Some of those will have options to be able to use and see, so you may see some of those around. If you were to link a ticket, let's say we're going to link this one to this. So any tickets that you link to one another, you're going to have this linked work item section. And in this ticket, I see I'm linked to 1126. If I go into 1126, I'm going to see that I am linked to 1347. So this is something that is a way to very easily link two tickets that are related and be able to access them from one another. You can also link tickets that are from different projects. So let's say I had one that was in relation to an HR onboarding. I could have that HR ticket linked so it knows that, hey, that came from this ticket and this is an action item to take. Coming a little bit lower in the activity section. So this is going to be basically your entire audit log. So before I do that, let's go ahead and go into our approval ticket because that's going to give us a view of that approval section that we've talked about. So now coming in here, comments, right now there isn't any comments, so therefore we don't see any, but there are two types of comments you can make. So you saw right here, the ones that we had left that are white. These are reply to customer. These are external comments. An internal note, what this is a comment that you leave that is only visible to the agent view. It's going to be highlighted in yellow. You're going to see a little lock. This is an agent-only comment. So let's say you're commenting, like a status update for another, you're handing this off to another person on your team and you want to just kind of leave where it is. You can make a little note and go on with it. If you're on the agent side trying to add an attachment, you can just click on this little paper clip to add attachment. And then you do also have canned responses. So along with having some nice rich text to be able to add a comment to, you can make a canned response that you're going to be able to easily click and insert. That way you can save yourself some typing, as well as anything that might be always something that you say, even if it's just a minute of your time. It's a minute of your time that you didn't originally have that you were going to spend. So you have the ability to have personal ones, or your project administrator can make shared ones, so that way anyone on the agent view in that project can use it. Otherwise, everyone only can create their own personal ones to utilize. And there are some variables that you can use that allow it to do those types of specific things. So by using issue reporter, that's just going to throw in the name of the reporter of the ticket. So some of those little things that make it very quick and easy to add a response, but not take too long on. The history tab, this is going to show you anytime this ticket has something done. So created, anytime the ticket is edited, so let's say a field value changes, we're going to see it. So you're going to see the actor. So automation for Jira was the one who completed the action. You're going to see the field, and then you'll see when it occurred. If you hover over the time, you'll be able to see date and time, and then you'll see what it was. So originally approvers didn't have a value, and then it was set to me. So if I go ahead and click approve, this is not only going to change the status, but it's also going to set another value. So now if we give it a refresh and we go back to history, now we're going to see that I approved, and we're going to see that because I gave the approval, I initiate the status change. And there's even an automation running that stamps the approval date and time into another field. So we can see it put that there. If you choose to log time, Jira does allow the ability. So while this is looking through tempo, you do have a built-in time tracking that if you log time, you're going to be able to see those work logs right here. You can edit them, you can delete them. Very optional feature, don't have to use it, but it is built in. There is very common add-ons like Tempo to track time and log time that are used, but you don't have to use that add-on to view your work logs. And then you have your dedicated approval section. So anytime a status in the workflow is an approval step, you're going to be able to see when the step hits, what status it was named, and then it's going to list how many people need to approve. In this case, approvers was set in the workflow that only one person needs to approve from that field. We're going to see that I approved it, and then that approval step was complete. If it needed more than one person, and we would see each person listed, and if one person, let's say we had 4 people that approved, but one person declined, one decline instantly makes an approval step be done, and it goes to decline, so we would also see that there. And no matter how many times you loop through approval, you're going to see it still logged here. So always you will have a log to go back to and see. So coming back up to these SLAs now. So SLAs do have on these tickets a visual type of view to kind of see what's going on with them. So for this one right here, we can see there's a green check mark. This green check mark means that the work item met the SLA. So for approval, it was set to within 1 hour, approval need to be given. We can see here that 45 minutes of it met, meaning I did it within 25% of that hour. I met it, and it'll even give you the timestamp of what that was. If you see a clock right here, that means that the SLA is still going. So it's not at risk of breaching yet. It's not paused, but it's just still going. So you'll be able to see the time duration left, when it's due, and then even that time stamp, including the time zone metric of it. At any point, if you see a little pause symbol, self-explanatory, that means the SLA is paused. There are pause conditions that do allow an SLA to stop counting. For example, it is very common to have your SLA calendar, which is what your SLA knows when to actually be counting. Let's say your office is opened 9 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. That means on the weekends or after 5 p.m., you don't want the SLA to count because if no one's working, there's nothing to count against. So you can do stuff like that where you won't see a pause symbol on that necessarily, but it just won't be count. So it won't take that into account for that. But there are ways to have physical pause conditions. Let's say for time to resolution, we pause it when it goes to pending. At that point, if it's pending for a reason, then no work can be done. Therefore, we won't count it. So you would see a pause symbol on that. You might see sometimes it be highlighted in orange. So if it's an orange/yellow, that means that the work item is at risk for breaching its SLA. So it's not breached yet, but it is getting close. And then red means the SLA is breached. However, just because the SLA breaches doesn't mean that SLA stops. It will still continue to count and go through until it meets. So even if it's breached, it can still get paused. It can still stop its timer for outside of the calendar hours, but it will still go until it meets its end condition. SLAs are applied to all tickets in your project, but you do have the ability to specify the JQL target. So let's say for incidents, you want a faster or a smaller time to first response than a service request. You're going to be able to narrow down the JQL to tell it that. However, even if you don't narrow down your tickets, let's say we didn't narrow down for change management though, you can still set it to either not apply just by setting no time for all other tickets, or you can still go through and give it a time just to kind of go about it. If you don't give it a time for that type of ticket, or let's say for you do all other work items, you don't add a timer, you won't see it pop up in this SLA section. So only if it has a time target to count against is where you will see an SLA pop up right here. These are just default ones. You can create more. You can have as many SLAs as you want. However, how SLAs work is that you can only have 90 goals. So when we say goals, that's going to be referring to your JQL. So if we're saying, hey, for incidents, we want time to first response if it is critical to be 5 minutes. That is one goal itself. I wouldn't say prior, let's use urgency, because I will say that with SLAs, you do have built in a little priority matrix, so you don't have to have 5 goals for 5 different priorities. You can make it one. However, if you choose not to use the priority one, you could still make it a JQL. It would count again. So again, you can have 20 SLAs, but you can only have 90 goals within them. And then along with those goals, I did mention those calendars that an SLA has to count against a specific time, which is identified with a calendar. All right, so let's kind of take a step back and let's go into queues. So queues are just going to see all your tickets listed. So right now we see these 4 tickets. This queue is specified to show tickets created in the last day. Every queue is defined by a JQL, so it knows what tickets to appear. So by coming in, here's the JQL, created less than 1 day, and the resolution is unresolved. And it's going to order by updated in descending order. So you're going to be able to customize that. You can customize the columns that are shown. Note that all what I'm showing right here, this is actually an admin feature only. So as agents, you can view these queues, but you're not going to be able to edit them. So not only do we have this queue view, but you also, if you're familiar with Jira Service Management, there is now a Kanban view. So you're going to be able to view tickets via a Kanban style with also adding a sub-filter query and including those completed issues in there. You're going to be able to customize swim lanes, the columns, the quick filters, card colors, card layout. And then you also have the ability to use a calendar. This is probably more so helpful, let's say if you have a change tracker or you have an onboarding queue where you want to kind of see at a quick glance when people are starting, it'll show that ticket number on the calendar view and you'll be able to utilize that. So that's going to be where the calendar view is very helpful. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it is an option to be able to view your tickets, see them, and work them. You do have the ability to perform bulk actions within a queue. So if we click on these checkboxes right here, this allows us to select more than one ticket at a time. And as long as we have the permission to perform bulk actions, which right now I do, I can do things such as link these two together. I can add the same comment on them. If I wanted to assign them myself, let's say they weren't assigned to me, I could assign them, I could transition them. If it was waiting my approval, I could approve them. Or not as commonly recommended, but if you need to delete it, you can. Note that depending on the ticket type and the status that it's in, you might not be able to perform all the actions on those tickets. So when you're doing these bulk, perform them on like tickets. For example, if I'm trying to, let's say, transition, and these all weren't for waiting for support, and I tried to bulk change this one, which is a service request with approval, and this one, which is just a standard service request. If they don't have the same transition that I tell it to go to, it will not execute on both of them. So just make sure when you're doing that you keep that in mind. But this is also just a great way to just kind of comment. And you don't have to do a bulk to do this. You can literally just only click on one, and rather than going in it to comment, you can just kind of click those quick actions right here. So it's a very quick, nifty trick to be able to do things like that. And just like how you saw that we pinned fields, you can also star items. So I have here, starring is essentially the same way as pinning. So I have here this queue starred, and in my left-hand section, I have a starred spot. And this is going to show me any queues that I have pinned. So anything I want to see quickly at a like fast glance, rather than having to navigate to all these queues or have to sort through all of the queue groups, I can just keep the ones that I most commonly use in my little start section and easily click to access them. And I will give, since we have just a little bit of time left, I'll go through one of my favorite things to talk through, and that is forms. So I mentioned for the portal that there are two ways to put information on that submission form to fill out. So I just say very high level. Again, this is project administration permissions. As an agent, you won't be able to do this. But if I navigate over to the request type, which is get IT help, any field that I put on this request form right here, this is going to be put, and on the portal side, it's going to be shown for the customer to fill out. Not every field is supported. So while you may be able to drag a field on here, not all are supported to fill out. For instance, if I were to drag a read-only field on here, kind of self-explanatory, but I won't be able to fill that one out. So you can drag, you can reorder these. In this area, you'll be able to mark them as required. Let's say for summary, you want to preset a value, or for any field for that matter, if you click on that checkbox, you can then put a default text, and then therefore when it comes in, it'll be set as that summary, and it's not something that your customer has to fill out. And then there's also what's called forms. You can use both the request form and the form section in the same request. However, you cannot position where the form looks. So by default, these fields right here, your top ones, they're going to show first, and then the form's going to show below it. So keep in mind when you're wanting to use both that there is a specific order that they go into. But to look at forms, these forms are a lot more advanced. So in that request form, you're not going to be able to, let's say, do and use conditionals. Any field in that request form section has to be a custom field. When it comes to these forms, you're going to be able to gather information and not even make it a custom field. So let's say we have summarize, even though you probably use the summary field for this, but I can make this field and now it can be filled out on the portal. It doesn't have to be linked. However, it's information that while I don't need to report back on it. Usually when it comes to these forms, my always recommendation is if you do not need to report on it and you just need it to simply just gather information, don't make it a custom field. However, if you do need to report on it, using this linked Jira field, you'll be able to find your Jira field, click on it, and now it is linked, as well as making it required. And you do have the ability to also do a match regex pattern. So let's say you needed to have, restrict certain values or separate by a certain delimiter. You're going to be able to add that, as well as minimum, maximum characters. And there's a ton of options. So short text, paragraphs, a bunch of different choice fields, including radio buttons, checkboxes, drop down, which includes a multi-select, a cascading, which you select the parent, and then depending on the parent, you can have child options. You have date fields, number fields, user fields, and then for other fields, attachment, and then you have your asset objects. So if you are utilizing the assets, so whether, like, let's say that's where we filled out the model of the laptop, that's an asset field, we'd be able to click on asset object, and then we would link a custom field that would be made to point to that asset object, add it to the field, add to the form, and then we could literally select anything in assets from that option directly within assets. As well as the number one reason to use dynamic forms, not only for the rich the rich editing you have up here, so being able to use different headers, bold, text alignment, numbered lists, bullet, adding links, tables, all this good stuff. There's what's called sections, which these ones have gotten more advanced over, I'd say, the last, I think, 3 months, where originally it just used to be, it's only an and. So it would only be show, if, and. But now it allows you to do multiple ands, or you actually now have the ability to do an or. So this is very helpful. So let's say if summarize isn't really a good example. So let's change this to, let's say, a drop down. And let's say yes and no. So in this section, what I can do is I only want this to show if yes is selected. So by doing that, now I can put in just some information that I want to only show for that option. So let's say you have an email request, and is this request for an email distribution, a shared mailbox, or I don't know, maybe like a calendar or something like that. So in that, you would have your drop down, and depending on what option you select, you can then only display the information related to that. So that way you're not bogging up the entire field and showing fields that aren't relevant, but you are making sure you're still getting the same information. If you do use a section, always make sure at the end you close it with another section. If you don't close it, then if you add more fields, it's always going to stick in the same section. And I highly, highly, cannot say this enough, highly recommend that if you're using a lot of sections, name them, as you're not going to be able to tell what each one does unless you come in. This was a lot more prominent for me when you didn't have the ability to add multiple ands or ors. Now that you can, it's a little bit easier, but recommend naming them. That way you can always kind of see what it's looking to at a quick glance from your summary, and then clicking on them, you can always go check and see. And then from here, you do have the ability to directly attach it to a request type that will add it to its submission. You can add a form to more than one request type. That's not a problem. However, you can't add multiple forms to one request type on submission. It's only going to support one, so just keep that in mind. You have the ability to share a link, so you can share this link, someone can click on it, and then they can fill it out from the agent side and submit it as a ticket. And then let's say for these ones, you can do it toggle on to attach PDF. So every time the form gets filled out and submitted, even if that means you reopen it, it will actually attach a PDF version of the form. That way you can always keep track of what options were selected in case someone changed something they shouldn't. You can make it so you can never reopen it unless you're an admin. And then you can also just kind of make it as a recommendation when selecting a list of forms, which more so relates back to using it as a shareable link. And then as you're building forms, if you click on preview, you will be able to kind of mess with your form to make sure. This is especially helpful when it comes to those conditional sections that you want to make sure it works. So hitting no, nothing pops up. but hitting yes means good job, so therefore we know that my form is built and working as intended. You can click up top here and you can name your form, and then also when you're done, just make sure you hit save changes. However, you do have to name it. So let's just say conditional test. And now we can click save, and we have our form. And then you have your list of forms within here, so that way you can click on them, you can copy them, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with forms. I do highly recommend them. They are very nice to use. And I know that might seem like it was a lot of information in a little amount of time, which it was. However, this does open the floor to any questions, and know that if you kind of got to this webinar a little bit late, these do get published on our YouTube channel. So if you need to review, let's say you want to refresh on something that I covered, or you just want to watch it again, feel free to check out our YouTube channel. Within this week, you should see that uploaded, so you can always go back and review it. However, if anyone has any questions, the floor is open. Just go ahead and utilize that QA section to throw them in there. Okay, let's see. Why is it when I make a JSM project now, a Confluence space is not created? Okay, so that is a good question, and I also thought myself this question a few times. So originally, I'd say about a year ago or so, when you created a JSM project, it would automatically create a Confluence space with it. It was very common that if you had a Confluence product, it would instantly create and attach a space. However, that is no longer the case. So if you create a brand new JSM project, you will have to go and manually create a Confluence space and link it. However, this also isn't the worst thing, as let's say you're starting and you have a Confluence space before you have your JSM project. You're going to be able to link it existing. Therefore, you don't have to create or delete a different one if you already have one standing up. Or if you don't have one yet, you can just create it and then you can attach it. It works either way. However, it does not work in the way where it will automatically appear, though. Oh, this is a good one. Can I hide/restrict queues within a project? So I did show that there is the way to star your queues, and also there is those little like queue groups. However, you're not going to be able to restrict queues like for who can view queues in a project. So any queues that are made in a project, they are going to be visible to everyone in the project who has access as an agent. So while you cannot restrict queues, you do have what's called issue security, which does allow you to restrict who can view issues. So in a way, that's what you would kind of accomplish if you're trying to hide things. However, issue security is a very big configuration, which is covered in the Jira bootcamp, that really it goes by the most restrictive. So it's only going to, rather than leaving it open and saying, oh, we allow this person, it's going to be only this person. It's, again, very, very restrictive. Highly only recommend it if you're using it for like confidential reasons. Otherwise, if you're just using it because, you don't want some team to see it, I would not recommend using it. But you do have queue groups, which allow you to group queues together, so that way someone can just minimize it if they don't care to see it. Or you have that star function, so that way they can throw all theirs in a star, and then they don't have to worry about seeing any of the other ones. They can just always keep it collapsed. I think we only have time for one more question, so I'll make this one really quick. And this is, can the same ticket exist in more than one project? That answer is going to be no. So you know how we had those ticket numbers when a ticket's created? When a ticket gets created, it's in that project. You can move a ticket from one project to another. That's not a problem. However, you cannot have it exist in two places at the same time. So let's say I have a ticket in the IT project and I need to move it to the InfoSec project. If I move it, it's still going to have an alias link of whatever the ticket number was in the IT project. So if I were to type in that in the URL, it'll still take me to the ticket, but it's going to put it in the infosec project and redirect of the URL, but it cannot exist in more than one. You have the ability to clone a ticket, which technically speaking, it does exist in more than one. They might be able to link together, but anything that's done on that clone ticket or anything done on that parent ticket isn't going to sync over automatically, so you'd still have to like update both of them together. My advice is, depending on what you're trying to do, if it's just like collaboration, you're going to be able to just link another ticket that might relate, or just add them to the ticket, and then that way they can also work together. But you can only move a ticket to a project. It can't exist in more than one. Now, if you're using something like the multi-board view, technically speaking, because it's listed in both projects, it kind of is in the way where it lives in one project, but you can see them in two. So there is that, but I wouldn't call that in terms of physically existing in more than one project. Good question, though. And that is going to take us to the very end of our webinar, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for attending this month's webinar for Jira Service Management Fundamentals. To dive deeper into JSM, I do highly recommend to look at our website for all of our training offerings to be able to take advantage of all of the wonderful things that we do here at Valiantys. If you do have any questions or you need further assistance, do not hesitate to reach out. So my email's listed. You can always go there. You can ask me on LinkedIn. You can go to the Valiantys LinkedIn. On the Valiantys website, we do have a little form for inquiries or questions. You'll be able to reach out and ask there. So don't feel free and hesitate to reach out. And then just kind of like a last little plug, the JSMBC, the next one is on July 28th, which runs to July 29th. So if you're interested, don't forget to check that out and register your seat. Otherwise, I wish you all a good day, and depending on what time you are, I'm still going to say have a good morning or have a good afternoon. Bye all.